The restaurant was packed with people dressed in their best. My brother Aaron sat at the head of the table, grinning like he owned the place. Everyone was laughing at his jokes, clapping him on the back like he was some kind of celebrity. My mom kept telling anyone who would listen how smart he was, how successful, how he had made something of himself. I sat quietly with my champagne glass, watching him soak up all the attention like a sponge absorbing water. 3 hours ago my world had fallen apart. A bank officer had called me about a $50,000 loan I never took. A loan that had my name on it, my signature, my social security number. Now I sat here, listening to people celebrate someone who had stolen my identity and destroyed my financial future. My hand tightened around the glass so hard I thought it might break. The crystal felt cold against my skin. Aaron looked over at me and winked, expecting me to smile and play along. I didn't smile back. I just stared at him. He had no idea what was coming. He had no idea what I had planned. Everyone expected a sweet little sister speech about how wonderful he was. They had no idea I was about to destroy his reputation with nothing but the truth and evidence. I rewound my memory to 3 hours before the dinner. I was sitting at my kitchen table with coffee going cold in front of me. My phone rang with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. A calm woman's voice introduced herself as a bank officer. She was calling about my $50,000 personal loan. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might be sick. I told her I never took any loan. There must be a mistake. She paused. Then she said the documents and signature matched my file perfectly. My hands started shaking. She asked if I wanted to come in to discuss the situation. I said yes, but my mind was racing. Who would take a loan in my name? Why would someone do that? The officer said the money had been transferred to a different account 3 months ago. 3 payments had already been missed. Late fees were piling up. My credit was being destroyed. I hung up the phone after scheduling an appointment. I sat there staring at nothing, my coffee completely forgotten, trying to understand how my life had just changed in one phone call. The next day I went to the bank and asked to see the documents. The loan officer, Ms. Patterson, was kind and sympathetic. She printed out copies for me. My hands were actually trembling as I opened the folder. There was my name, my address, my social security number. Everything looked exactly like my real documents. But then I saw the signature. It was close, really close. But it wasn't mine. I studied it carefully. The letters were slightly different. The pressure was wrong. Someone had copied my signature but not perfectly. I felt sick looking at it. Someone had stolen my identity. Someone had forged my name. I kept staring at that signature, trying to figure out who would do something so terrible. One face kept coming into my mind. One person who had access to my things. One person I trusted. My brother Aaron. I didn't want to believe it. But deep down I already knew. He had always been the charming one, the favorite child, the one everyone believed. And he had always pushed boundaries. This time, he had crossed a line I didn't even know existed. I thought back to all the times Aaron had access to my things. He had keys to my apartment for emergencies. He was always coming over, hanging out in my room, asking to borrow stuff. A few months ago he had asked to take photos of my ID. He said he was helping me apply for a store card. I remembered feeling uncomfortable but trusting him anyway. He was my brother. Why would he hurt me? I also remembered him asking for money right around the same time the loan was taken out. When I said I didn't have much to spare, he got quiet. He had looked almost angry. Then he changed the subject and acted like everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. He must have been planning this the whole time. He must have studied my signature. He must have written down my social security number. He must have practiced forging my name until he got it just right. All that time I thought we were close. Thought he loved me. Now I realized he had just been waiting for the right moment to use me. I sat in the bank feeling completely betrayed. My own brother had stolen $50,000 using my name. And the worst part was, I knew my parents would never believe me. I drove to my parents' house with the loan documents shaking in my hands. I needed them to understand how serious this was. My mom was in the kitchen making lunch. My dad was in the living room watching television. I sat them both down at the dining room table. My voice shook as I explained everything. The bank call. The forged signature. The $50,000 loan. The missed payments. My destroyed credit. My parents listened, but I could see it in their faces. They didn't believe me. My mom frowned, but not at Aaron. She frowned at me. "Honey, maybe you forgot you applied for the loan," she said gently. "You've been so stressed since the divorce. Maybe you just forgot." I stared at her. How could she think I forgot $50,000? My dad nodded in agreement. "Your brother wouldn't do something like this," he said firmly. "Aaron is a good kid. Has a great job. He doesn't need to forge anything." I felt the betrayal hit like a punch. My own parents were taking his side. They didn't even want to look at the evidence. They didn't want to believe their perfect son could do something wrong. I left their house feeling completely alone. If my own family wouldn't believe me, how could I prove the truth to anyone else? I drove to Aaron's condo the next day. I needed to confront him face to face. I needed to see his reaction when I showed him the documents. Maybe he would confess. Maybe he would apologize. Maybe there was some explanation I hadn't thought of. He answered the door looking surprised to see me. I pushed past him and went inside. I pulled out the bank documents with shaking hands and showed him everything. The loan agreement. The forged signature. Payment notices. He barely glanced at them. "Relax," he said, waving his hand like I was being dramatic. "It's temporary. I'll pay it back." My heart started pounding. "You forged my signature," I said, my voice rising. "You stole $50,000 from the bank using my name." He sighed like I was annoying him. "Don't be so dramatic," he said. "It's not that big of a deal. I just needed some cash to pay off some stuff. I'll have it back in a few months." I realized something terrible in that moment. He wasn't sorry. He wasn't apologetic. He was annoyed that I had caught him. He saw this as an inconvenience, not a crime. He thought I should just accept it and move on. He had no idea how much damage he had caused. The calls started coming in within days. Collection agencies. Debt collectors. They called my phone constantly. Early in the morning. Late at night. They treated me like a criminal. They used harsh voices and threatening language. My credit score crashed faster than I could believe. I applied for a new apartment after my divorce was finalized, and the landlord rejected me immediately. He said my credit was too damaged. I tried to apply for a car loan and the bank said no. I tried to get a credit card to rebuild my credit, and every single application was denied. The consequences of Aaron's crime were becoming cages around my entire life. I couldn't escape them. Every phone call made me feel more trapped. Every rejection made the anger burn hotter. I cried in my car more times than I could count. I sat in parking lots with my hands gripping the steering wheel, wondering how my own brother could have done this to me. I had given him a place to stay when he was struggling. I had lent him money. I had trusted him. And this was how he repaid that trust. He had stolen from me. He had used me. He had destroyed my financial future without a second thought. I went back to the bank and asked to speak with Ms. Patterson again. She greeted me with sympathy and understanding. She could see I was suffering. We sat in her small office, and she told me she wanted to help. She played a recording of the phone call where the loan was requested. My breath caught when I heard it. The voice on the recording was giving all of my personal information. The voice was calm and confident. The voice was completely familiar. It was Aaron. Hearing my brother impersonate me over the phone felt like being slapped across the face. He sounded so convincing, so sure of himself. He had done this before, or at least he had practiced enough that it sounded natural. Listening to him steal my identity through the phone made my blood run cold. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This wasn't a mistake. This was planned and deliberate. He had called the bank knowing exactly what he was going to say. He had used my information without hesitation. He had committed fraud without any guilt in his voice. When the recording ended, I felt like I might be sick. Ms. Patterson handed me a thick folder filled with documents. Inside was everything I needed to prove the truth. Call logs showing exactly when and where the loan application was made. Application timestamps precise to the minute. IP addresses from the computer where the loan was applied for, traced back to Aaron's apartment building. The original forged application with Aaron's handwriting visible on some of the forms. Details he had missed when trying to cover his tracks. Bank records showing where the money went. Every piece was like a puzzle coming together. I slid the folder into my hands like it was made of gold. Like it was sacred ammunition. Like it was a weapon that had just been given to me. I held it against my chest and felt something shift inside me. The first real spark of what I can only describe as cold revenge started burning deep in my chest. Not hot revenge. Not the kind that makes you scream and cry and lose control. This was cold revenge. Calculated revenge. Strategic revenge. The kind that makes you think carefully about every move and how you're going to do it perfectly. I was going to make sure everyone knew the truth about who Aaron really was. I went home and sat on my couch for hours just staring at the evidence. I spread all the documents out on my coffee table. I looked at the call logs. I looked at the timestamps. I looked at the forged signature. My hands trembled as I traced the fake letters with my finger. This wasn't just theft. This was betrayal from someone I had loved and trusted completely. I let myself feel the anger, but I didn't let it control me. I realized something important. Aaron expected me to cry. He expected me to yell at him. He expected me to have some big emotional confrontation where I fell apart in front of him. That's why I wouldn't do any of those things. I would stay calm. I would stay composed. I would not warn him. I would not give him a chance to prepare. I would not even hint that I knew more evidence existed beyond what I had already shown him. He would learn the truth at the worst possible moment. In front of the people he cared about most. In front of his boss. In front of his fiancée. In front of our entire family. Everyone would see exactly what he had done. Everyone would judge him without hearing his excuses first. The anger chilled inside me, becoming something focused and powerful. Something unstoppable. A few days later, Aaron's fiancée Melissa texted me. Can't wait to see you at Aaron's birthday dinner. He's so excited to celebrate with the whole family. It's going to be amazing. I stared at the text for a long time. She was so happy. She had no idea what was coming. She had no idea that the man she was planning to marry had forged his sister's signature and stolen $50,000. She was planning a future with someone who was capable of this kind of cruelty. A room full of people was going to gather to celebrate Aaron's birthday. His friends, his coworkers, his boss, his family members, his colleagues from work, everyone who had ever believed in him. It would be the perfect stage. It would be the perfect moment to reveal the truth. The universe had given me exactly what I needed. Spotlight. An audience. A moment where everyone who mattered to Aaron would be watching and listening. And I was going to use it to show them exactly who he really was. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about justice. For 2 weeks, I gathered everything I could find. I collected the loan documents with my name printed clearly at the top. The forged signatures placed side by side with my real signature. The phone call transcripts from the bank showing exactly what Aaron had said. The written statement from Ms. Patterson confirming that Aaron had committed fraud. Screenshots of all the late payment notices that had been sent to my address. Copies of my credit score reports showing how much damage had been done to my financial reputation. I organized everything carefully in a black binder with clear tabs separating each section. I labeled it, "Happy Birthday Aaron," on the front in big letters. I knew exactly how I was going to present everything. I knew the order I would present the evidence. I knew the timing. I knew when to pause for effect. My revenge was no longer just an idea or a fantasy in my head. It was real. It was concrete. It was tangible. It was a countdown. Every day that passed, I felt calmer and more prepared. Every document I organized, every page I reviewed, I felt more ready. I wasn't going to lose control at the birthday dinner. I was going to stay calm and logical. I was going to be logical. I was going to let the evidence speak for itself without my emotions getting in the way. Before the party, word started spreading through the family that I was financially irresponsible. My mom had apparently been telling relatives that I was going through money problems. I heard through a cousin that my dad was saying I made poor financial decisions. They were already blaming me for everything. They were already telling people it was my fault, not Aaron's. My mom even called me and said, "Just keep things calm tonight at the party. We don't need any drama." The hurt from that was deep. My own family was asking me to stay silent. They were protecting Aaron without even knowing the full truth. But I also felt clarity. They would learn the truth. And they would learn it from the evidence, not from me yelling or crying or begging them to believe me. Let them protect him now. Let them defend him. The truth was coming. The night of the party, I dressed carefully and deliberately. I wanted to look calm. I wanted to look collected. I wanted to look glowing and confident, like everything was perfect in my world. I wanted to look like someone who was in complete control. I barely slept the night before, anxiety keeping me up until 3 in the morning, but I wore makeup to hide the exhaustion. I wore a dress that made me feel strong and powerful, something that fit just right and made me stand taller. I arrived at the restaurant early and sat at the bar for a few minutes, just breathing deeply and centering myself. I went over my plan one more time in my head. I visualized presenting the evidence. I visualized staying calm when Aaron reacted. I visualized the moment everyone realized the truth. Aaron was already there when I arrived at our table. He hugged me and whispered in my ear, "No drama tonight, okay? Let's just have fun and celebrate me." I smiled sweetly at him, though my heart was racing. "Of course," I said calmly. "Don't worry about me. I'm here to have a good time." He had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. He thought I was still just the hurt little sister. He thought I would come to this dinner and pretend everything was fine and forgotten. He had no idea I was about to change everything about his life. After dinner, after everyone had eaten and was feeling comfortable and happy and relaxed, Melissa stood up and tapped her champagne glass with a fork. "Time for speeches," she announced brightly to the whole room. Everyone turned to look at me with smiles on their faces. Aaron leaned back in his chair with a smug smile on his face, completely confident and comfortable. He was expecting me to say nice things about him. He was expecting flattery and praise. He was expecting forgiveness he never earned and didn't deserve. He had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. He had no clue that his life was about to change in the next few minutes. This is the moment where most people would expect the story to end. This is where the protagonist gives a sweet speech praising the birthday boy. This is where everything stays normal. But I was about to twist the knife and show everyone the truth. I stood up slowly and deliberately. I looked around the table carefully at everyone's faces. I made eye contact with different family members. Then I started speaking in a clear, steady voice. "I wasn't going to speak tonight," I said quietly but loud enough for everyone to hear. "But something happened today that I need to tell all of you about." The room quieted immediately. Everyone sensed something was different. Aaron's smile faded just a little bit. His confidence flickered for a moment. "I got a call from the bank," I continued speaking calmly and clearly. I could see the color start to drain from his face as he realized something was wrong. They called about something very important. Something that involved me directly. I placed the black binder slowly on the table in front of everyone. I heard soft gasps from people around the table. The binder landed with a solid thud. Aaron's best friend leaned forward, curious and concerned. His boss straightened up in his chair. I could see my parents starting to look nervous and worried. I opened the binder carefully and pulled out the first set of loan documents. I held the first page up so everyone at the table could see it clearly. "This is a $50,000 personal loan," I said in a calm and steady voice that didn't shake. "It was taken out 3 months ago. My name. Without my permission." A murmur spread through the room like a wave of shock and concern. Aaron's best friend's eyes widened in surprise and understanding. His boss started frowning deeply and looking at Aaron with suspicion. Aaron sat up straight in his chair, suddenly panicked. "What are you doing?" he said loudly, but his voice shook with nervousness and fear. I ignored him completely and kept speaking. "This loan was never approved by me. I never signed anything. I never authorized this loan. But someone did. Someone forged my signature and stole $50,000 from a bank. Someone committed fraud using my identity." The room was completely silent now. Everyone was staring at me. Everyone was listening to every word. Everyone was starting to understand what had happened. I pulled out the signature comparison page and held it up for everyone to see. "This is my actual signature," I said, pointing to the first one. Then I slowly flipped to the forged one. "And this is the signature on the loan application. This is the signature Aaron submitted." I laid both pages in the middle of the table so everyone could see them side by side clearly. The signatures looked similar at first glance, but anyone paying close attention could see they were different. The letter formations were slightly different. The pressure of the pen was wrong. The spacing was off. Melissa covered her mouth with her hand in shock. My dad's eyes went wide with understanding and anger. My mom started blinking rapidly, trying to process what she was seeing. Aaron's face completely drained of color. His boss leaned over to look at the signatures carefully and deliberately. The evidence was undeniable and clear. I had Ms. Patterson's permission to play the recorded phone call. I pulled out my phone and carefully connected it to the restaurant's sound system with the help of a staff member. "This is a recording of the phone call where the loan was applied for," I said to everyone. "I want you to listen carefully and tell me whose voice you hear." Press play. The room filled with a voice. Familiar voice. A voice that belonged to Aaron. On the recording, he was giving my social security number as if it were his own. He was confirming my address. He was speaking as if he were me, the actual borrower. The way he said my information, so confidently, so naturally, so smoothly, made my stomach turn and made everyone else's faces turn pale. Everyone in the restaurant heard my brother impersonate me over the phone. Everyone heard him commit fraud. Everyone heard him lie to a bank officer. No one moved. No one spoke. It was the sound of a mask falling off a man who thought he was untouchable. When the recording ended, Aaron stood up so fast his chair fell backward onto the floor with a loud crash. "This is taken out of context," he shouted desperately, trying to explain himself. "You don't understand. I was planning to pay it back." But his boss interrupted him sharply and firmly. "Sit down," he said in a cold, angry voice. Aaron sat down immediately, his hands shaking visibly. Melissa whispered, "Oh my God," over and over, her voice getting quieter each time. She took off her engagement ring slowly and set it gently on the table next to his dinner plate. My parents stared at Aaron in complete stunned silence, unable to speak or process what they had just witnessed. Everything he had built on charm and lies was cracking in front of everyone who mattered to him. His reputation, which had taken years to build, was falling apart in real time. And everyone was watching it happen. I slid the rest of the folder across the table toward Aaron. "These are the payment notices," I said calmly. "These are the dates you missed payments. These are the collection agency calls. These are the consequences I've been living with for the past 3 months because of what you did." My voice was steady, cold, controlled. It was the exact opposite of Aaron's panicked, angry voice. The evidence was overwhelming. The proof was undeniable. There was nothing he could say. There was nothing he could do. Everyone at the table could see exactly what he had done and exactly how wrong it was. My calm presentation made it even more powerful. Melissa stood up slowly. She reached for her engagement ring on the table. She slipped it into her purse. "I can't marry someone who does this to his own sister," she said quietly. Her voice was sad but firm. She grabbed her purse and her coat. She walked away from the table without looking back. Aaron reached out to stop her, but she was already gone. His co-workers exchanged horrified glances with each other. His boss stood up and said, "We need to have a conversation at the office on Monday." One by one, people started leaving the table. The party was over. The celebration had turned into a disaster. And it was all because of the truth. 2 days later, I got a call from Melissa. She said Aaron's promotion at his job had been revoked. The company had started a formal ethics review. They were investigating whether he had committed fraud at work as well. His company was distancing itself from him. His reputation, which he had spent a decade building, had crumbled in less than a week. All because he had counted on me staying silent. All because he had believed I would never speak up. All because he had underestimated his own sister. I thanked Melissa for calling to tell me. She told me she felt sorry for me, not for him. She said she was sorry I had to deal with this. I told her I was going to be fine. With Ms. Patterson's help and all the evidence I had gathered and organized, I worked to clear my name officially. I contacted the bank and showed them everything I had collected. I filed a formal fraud report with all the documentation. I worked with lawyers to remove the fraudulent loan from my credit report completely. I had my credit frozen to prevent any other fraudulent activity. The process took time, but it was worth every moment of effort. Eventually, my credit started to recover and heal. I was able to qualify for an apartment again. I was able to get approved for loans. I moved into a new place, somewhere fresh and clean, somewhere I could start over completely. The relief I felt was indescribable and overwhelming. Every time I looked at the lease with my name on it, I felt stronger and more confident. I was rebuilding my life brick by brick. I was moving forward into the future. I was going to be okay. I was going to be better than okay. I was going to be amazing. I never spoke to Aaron again after that birthday dinner. Not out of spite or anger toward him. Out of peace. Out of closure. His downfall wasn't actually my revenge. The truth was my revenge. The truth was the weapon that destroyed his lies. The truth always lands hardest when spoken calmly and confidently, and in front of all the people he worked the hardest to impress and manipulate. The truth doesn't need to be screamed. The truth doesn't need to be violent. The truth just needs to be honest and clear. I learned something important from all of this experience. Silence protects the guilty. Silence allows them to keep hurting people. But evidence protects the innocent. Evidence tells the real story. And I promised myself I would never let anyone write their name on my life again. I would never give anyone access to destroy me. I would never trust the wrong person with my identity or my safety. I had survived something I never thought I would survive. And I was stronger because of it. I was resilient. I was brave. I was a survivor.